Let's start with the heart qigong for a change. So just keep the legs a little bit bent. So there's like a sort of buoyant spring in the legs, reaching out as though you're bringing the world in to your heart, right down to the deep heart, which is connected to the danjian, and then through the thymus, through the head, out of the crown, and all around. Keep the legs springy. Then as you bring the hands up, effectively you're getting heavier. So you'll be pushed down into your legs a little bit more. And as the hands come down, the legs will want to straighten a bit. And remember to keep the arms a little bit separate. One side is always ahead of the other. Which side it is always switching. And then just hands into prayer posture. And now let's just go up and down a little bit. So you want to go down into a squat. So you have to let your bum go out. So just let that happen. There's a point where you just can't go any lower unless you stick your bum back. The closer we get to the ground, the more intense it makes us. And now just trying to go down into a squat without sticking the bum out. So you have to come off your heels. So you go down and just come on to the toes. So the heels come up. And you just try, don't go down too far to start with, just bring it back up. Keep the mind in the Danshan if you can. Feel as though your Danshan is being pulled down, almost like an arm has come out of the ground and grabbed it and is pulling it down. And your legs are just having to accept it. So this is even more intense because we're having to concentrate on the balance as well as enduring the pain in the legs. And now let's come into riding horse. So Dantian Ming Men. The gravitational center. The sense of gathering into this point. So when we're sitting cross-legged in meditation, then both the hands and the feet are with the Dantian. It's the perfect preparation for Tai Chi, really, because it just really establishes the Dantian. Feel the sacrum hanging heavily from the Ming Men. Feel the tail, the end of the sacrum, trying to extend, open up and extend downwards. And feel the thighs, because my knees are slightly forward of my hips and my feet. The angle of the thighs is like this. So if I'm sinking, if my sacrum is properly heavy and sinking, it will always be drifting forwards as it's sinking down. I just want to feel that. And that will make it very difficult for the mind become obsessed with itself, to start looking down at its own body or thinking. We tend to think like this. So the sinking of the sacrum, the drift forwards of the sacrum, helps the heart, the upper heart especially, open up and lift towards the sky. And then feel this point, the point from which I'm suspended from the ceiling. We have a sense of sinking down into the ground through the legs. We have a sense of erupting from the ground through the legs, a bit like a volcano. And now here, this is quite different. This is hanging from the ceiling. So there's a sense that, part of you is just really loose and hanging from here. The legs especially. And now let's just bring the feet up a bit so it's not quite so wide. And now just reaching up one hand at a time. So I go up with one hand and I want the feeling I've just grabbed a bar. I've grabbed something. And then I just let myself hang and just loosen all the joints and just hang. And what will happen, if you can get it, then you'll really feel the sacrum wanting to drift forwards and the legs being forced to accept that. So now my point of stability, if you like, is my hands grip rather than my feet on the ground. And then I just swap them round. So as I reach up with this hand, it will bring me into this leg. Then I want the feeling I've just almost let go with the legs because I can hold on with the hand. The head really has to pull out of the way. Just feel the path from this foot up to this hand. So from my left leg into my right hand. My left leg is supporting me. My right leg is almost free. And I want to just feel the sacrum. Don't reach so much that it starts hurting the lower back. And if you do have something at home that you can hold on to, it's a great exercise. And now into riding horse again. Now let's try a little bit of the reaching forwards. But try and feel as though the arm is stemming from the dantian. So I turn and something comes up from the dantian, up my back, and across into the arm. And then I pull it back into the dantian. There's basically 4 stages as you go out. So hand going out, elbow going out, shoulder going out, shoulder blade, and then the spine, feeling that point in the spine that the hand is pulling from. So I'm sort of working my way up the arm as I push out. So my hand goes out and then I come into my elbow with my mind. And then the shoulder, shoulder blade, and finally the spine in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We want to feel the intensity stepping up for each time. Hand is quite modest. You could play chess like this. You don't need to get intense for that. And then the elbow is a bit more fierce. And then the shoulder is really intense. And then finally you get to the spine. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now feel it coming from the dantian. My mind is moving up the arm this way. The energy is going the other way. The energy is coming up from the Ming Men. And finally gets into the hand. From the dantian goes into the Ming Men, up into the middle of the back, hops across into the shoulder blade, which moves forwards, pushes down into the elbow, and finally the hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, this is building up in intensity. So even though we're going the other way, it's the same intensification. So 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time the energy's got to the hand, because this has really come loose, the hand is already coming back. So this real feeling that your hand is getting behind someone. So you're not reaching forwards and pulling their arm. You're reaching behind the person and you're pushing them from behind. And then you quickly slip this way. And this is just ward off. See ward off as being this like long tentacle from the Ming Men, reaches to the fingertips. By the time it gets to the fingertips, it's already curling in, starting to roll up into the roundness of ward off. Okay, then this back into the riding horse. So we want to feel this shape with the arm as having sprung up the spine from this point, which is of course fed by the legs. It comes up and out and around. So it's really stretched. And it's very much coming from here, not the heart, or if you like, the deep heart connected to the dantian. And this is that sort of fierce hunting animal that's about to pounce. You know, like with little kids, if you try and get them to pretend they're lions, you know, it's always, rah! You know, they're always coming from the shoulders into their hands from the back. So it's not, you know, they get the whole body involved to make it just that much more intense, more real. This is what we want. Everything's coming from the body, from the whole body, and the whole body is centered here. And now we just want to do the same sort of thing with the legs, which of course is more difficult. Extend the same way we were extending the hand out in order to then draw it in, like punting, like you're reaching out, grabbing something and then pulling it in to consume it. So now I'm extending the leg. So the way we normally work on this is just pushing the ground. I push the ground and then I pull the ground. I push the ground, pull the ground. The problem with any sort of work is that it just becomes too efficient, and largely because the mind wants to think about something unrelated, everything tends to flatten out. So instead of thinking in terms of pushing the ground, I'm just thinking in terms of extending out of here. So I'm pushing out of my sacrum and then I'm pulling, and that will pull me round. Like the foot is trying to pull up into the dantian in the same way that the hand was pulling into the dantian. So I've got to roll from here. There needs to be this action in the hip. So from the hip, and then I scoop out. So in the same way that I was trying to get my hand to come up from the dantian, from the Ming Men, up the spine, across the shoulder blade. This, in a sense, it's easier because it doesn't have to go up the spine. It just comes straight from here. Squeeze into my hip bone, down the leg, and then I curl the leg up. And again, here, squeezing. You really have to work hard to get something to jump across the sacroiliac. So the pressure really has to build up in your sacrum. That's the feeling. And then you just pull it up into the dantian. The hands are reaching out and pulling the world into you all the time, but similarly the feet. My leg is extending and my foot is pulling that piece of ground up into the dantian. So feel the arms having come from the dantian into their respective ward-offs, and feel the legs having sprung from the sacrum, wanting to pull up here. So when the energy comes up from the dantian or down from the dantian and extends, long before it's finished its extension, there's already the idea of coming back. There's already the return. So I'm extending the hand out, but it's already got this feeling of wanting to loop. That's what we want to feel and appreciate. So we're never really leaking energy. Whenever anything goes out, it's going to just come back in. So everything's contained, especially in this posture. And now let's try the tree. From the dantian up across the shoulders. And now I just reach up. And then I suck. I draw energy down into the dantian and then splitting at the sacrum, down the legs, and I suck energy up from the ground. So that sense of return is especially important in this exercise. So even though I'm bending my legs here, it feels like I'm injecting into the ground. You're injecting this hypodermic from each foot, and then you're sucking something up. And again, here I'm injecting into the sky. And before I finish going up, I'm already sucking back down. Working like this with this idea of the return and working hard. So this is why we go slow, so that we can really get some work into it. You can really imagine that tight wetsuit that John envisaged, so that every movement you make is resisted. So there's no let up. It's like you become all core. You know, when you feel the core, it's just like a real tightness, like a belt that's wrapped around here that's really tightened, and it's got right into the spine. There's a sense with this exercise that all the bones in your body are sheathed with this extended core. And then just turning side to side with it. So it relaxes a little bit, but it will soon build up. Drawing into the deep heart or the dantian as you pull in, extending into the thymus and the head as you open up. Imagine someone's behind you with their hands on your shoulders, and they're just gently pressing you down into those legs. Driving into the legs all the time. So I'm straightening my legs here, partly to turn me, but also to get a sense of injecting them into the ground. It's just so difficult. As soon as you start getting into it, you come up. So there has to be this constant sinking in the background, keeping you down. So you don't get too carried away. You don't sort of pop up and lose your root. We want the work that we do to extend our root into the ground, not pull it up. So here I'm injecting into the ground. Okay. Yeah, so we have to really sort of observe the mind. So when I'm working intensely and I get this sense that my feet are sort of injecting into the ground, it's an intensity that allows a deeper relaxation. This is what we have to appreciate, is that, you know, keeping the ground as a hard surface upon which I purchase requires me to become tense. I need to tighten up and disconnect. I disconnect from the energetic reality of the ground. And that energetic reality is of this thing that's coming up into me and that I can penetrate into. But in order to do that, you have to get fierce. So the whole world that we inhabit day to day is all built on careless assumptions. And each assumption is like a tension in the mind. It's like cutting off. It's like when you name something, you know, you sort of see something in the distance and you're not quite sure what it is. So you're sort of really interested. And then you approach it and you realize, oh, it's only a fucking tree. And then it's a tree and now you've forgotten it. That's the sense in which language is like attention. It clasps things and then discards them. That's what we want to do away with. So everything becomes different, everything becomes real when your intensity increases. It's no longer a name, it's no longer a thing. It's actually just part of this, part of you, effectively. You know, Heidegger's phrase, language is the house of being. You know, he's a clever guy. He had to invent a whole new language to describe the world that he was seeing. And for him, you know, Hölderlin was the great user of language, of this crazy, high romantic poet. So that's language. Language isn't conversation. It's not the words you use to describe the world. It's the words you use to evoke the world of spirit and energy and connectedness. Now let's just go down, going down, looping the hands through the legs and squatting. Feeling, you know, the proximity of the Dan Chen with the earth. So just trying to stretch, open those hip joints. And then just bring the feet up a bit. Both hands on the ground, off the heels. And now we just want to feel the ground as this shifting surface. Like there's play between the two hands and play between the two feet. And then extending a foot out and trying to get that leg straight. So you have to push on the knee a little bit. And then shifting across into the other foot. So in order to allow my leg to become straight, I have to also let go in the hip, and then the other leg will just take a bit more strain. It's important to be able to straighten the leg and to be able to separate it from the other one. This is how they do those enormously long steps. The Chinese steps we can't even think about. They're not lunging when they do those steps. They're just relaxing the leg out. This extending leg is almost coming out of the hip joint and reaching, probing forwards. And then across into the other leg again. And then one more into the other leg. Then back to the middle again. And then back up. Feel how that has changed this region. Now it really feels that your legs, which include your hip bones, really reach out from your sacrum. So this just feels a lot more open. Now let's just try a little bit of this straightening and bending the leg. So straightening my right leg to turn me around here and push me into this leg. And then bending that leg to bring me back effectively into riding horse, and then straightening that leg again but now it's a front leg. And then bending the leg pulls me back into the middle, and then straightening the back leg effectively brings me into single whip. So in single whip, your back leg and your back arm are basically the same thing. They're really straight. And if they are properly straight, then it won't turn you like this. You know, the problem with single whip is coming forward and you end up, but if you're straightening the back leg, that will get your hip round. And you want to straighten the back leg so much that you feel this almost a release from the hip bone, from the sacrum. So I push and I've got round. And just feel your arm aligned with your leg. So the chest is really open. And then you pull with that leg, you bend the back leg, and it brings you back into riding horse. And then you straighten the leg again, but now it's a front leg. And you're driving yourself back into the back foot, basically into lifting hands. This is where you can feel the straightening of the legs, releasing here at the hip, just forcing this leg to take so much more of the weight. It's amazing how much we hold on in the legs when we don't straighten them. And then bending this leg again to bring me back to riding horse. And then straightening the leg again and into single whip. And then bending the back leg into riding horse, and then straightening the leg again, but now it's a front leg into lifting hands. Wow. Bending that leg, riding horse, straightening the leg into single whip. Really straighten the leg, so you've got to push this around here. You have to be careful with all of this because it's, you know, remember Johnny damaged his sacroiliac trying to open it too much. And then bending the back leg brings you into riding horse, and straighten the back leg again. And bending. Let's just give the legs a rest. Ironic, isn't it, when this is actually giving the legs a rest. So the pain of a leg bending and the pain of a leg straightening, stretching, they both will bring an intensity. And now let's just try the other way. So straightening my left leg now into single whip towards this corner. And I really want to straighten this leg so that this hip gets pushed right round. And you can just hold these, you know, they're really intense, these postures. And then bending the back leg will draw you back into riding horse, which is a real relief. And then straightening that left leg again into lifting hands. Yeah, so really, can I relax into the that back leg? Way. And then bending, riding horse, and then straightening, single whip. bending and straightening. And one more. Straightening the leg again into single width. So the shoulders really pulls back. That shoulder blade is really pinching into the spine. And the same with the hip bone. It's really sort of pulling back. And then bending the leg into riding horse. And then straightening it again. And then bring the feet closer together. We're just coming onto one foot basically, but just get the figure of 8 around the feet first. So when I bring a foot off the ground, obviously I need to be stable in the other foot. And one of the things we do is just imagine the foot is a lot bigger than it really is. So you have more surface area in contact with the ground. So as I go around this foot, I'm really spreading my toes and trying to extend my little toe as far in that direction as possible, so that the loop of the figure of 8 that encloses the foot is big, much bigger than the foot. Feel that intensity, that real scream that gets the little toe extending out of itself and reaching. Take the weight with it, so my weight comes around. So it's like my outside edge of my foot is almost where this hand is, and then the other foot can come up. So I need to create this intensity, this energetic reality that can contain and control the physical. Big toe, heel, and little toe, taking my outside edge really right outside here. And then this can come up. So you're just like an actor, really, that's just getting into the role. And the role is just energy. It's just the world of energy. You're just trying to inhabit and make that world big enough that it can comfortably contain the physical world. So here, there's obviously part of you that's got your leg up in the air and is struggling not to fall. But there's another part of you that's really sinking and extending out this direction. Okay. And now let's just finish. So, Danjian. What's above this point is draining down into it. What's beneath this point is being sucked up into it. And one of the things we have to be careful of is that our sinking doesn't make our feet heavy and congested. We want to be really fleet of foot. So this has to be the center. If it gets any lower, you'll just be slow and lumbering. And just feel that alternation that's just going on all the time. Another thing that will make you heavy and slow is double weightedness, this sense of being stuck in the middle of a symmetrical body. That's why John never practiced riding horse. For him, what was always most important was speed, was spirit, and the ability to defend himself. And now let's bring the feet up. End with a bit of this. Even though my heels are coming up and down, I don't want the heel coming up to tip me forwards like this. So I've still got this feeling of sinking through, injecting through the feet, melting down regardless of what the feet are doing. And then just wind it down. You've still got the two figures of eights, figure of eight in each foot. As you go around the toes really extend and flare. And as you go around the heel extends back and cuts under. And then just become as still as you can without killing the thing off. If you're not moving, you're not alive. But we want that movement to be inside. Right, well done.